everybody. This is episode 4 of Crypto and Cocktails, the official 107capital podcast. My name is Tyler, as always, and this is the man of the hour,
Tim.
So today we wanted to talk more in depth about cryptocurrency, why it's important, how it works, where it comes from, those sorts of things. I have some questions I wanted to ask you. Obviously, You've been in the field for a number of years. So, and obviously you can go and watch our previous episodes to learn how Tim got in the field and also, where his expertise came from, where his experience comes from. But I did want to ask some questions, for our viewers, for you today as it relates to cryptocurrency. If you could just walk us through them.
Digital assets. Shouldn't we get to the cocktail first?
Actually, it might be a good idea, yeah. So this is very simple. Don't drink it yet. But it's a very simple cocktail today. I've called it Tito's and Blueberry. It's sort of a twist on the standard Maine Tito's and Cranberry. What I've done basically is got some blueberry soda in there, some blueberries as a garnish, and then some Tito's and some ice.
Oh, you got like that Maine root blueberry soda?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Cheers.
Great. Cheers. Salud. All right, so let's talk crypto.
Ooh, that's strong.
Oh, shoot.
I may have put too much Tito's in mine.
Dude, whatever bar you work at, I want to go to.
I know. You've said this now, I think, 2 or 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point.
Fix our flowers. Digital assets. What a conversation this is. So...
Yeah, do you want to kind of do like a little introduction before I get to the questions?
Yeah, okay, so I'll preface it this way. I've been in the digital asset space and crypto since 2017, 2018. Long story short, I think we referenced on another podcast, and the first one we talked about, like, hey, this is how it happened. Because I was a skeptic. Everybody is. You have to be. And then once you get past that initial skepticism and see something for what it is, what you realize is cryptocurrency, for lack of a better term, digital assets, are the future. It doesn't matter what you think about them. They're your future if you're still living and breathing. It's that simple.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna get to that, especially towards the end. So I think a good place to start would be, because the technology is evolving all the time, and I guess I'm wondering, explain the blockchain like I'm 5, how is it structured?
Blockchain.
I've heard of nodes. What are those? That kind of angle. Like, explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so let's take it one step back quickly. Because we're going to preface this because I think it's important for younger people that are teenagers, young, they're not adults yet, young adults, whatever. So you kind of have that. If you're anywhere from 12 to, let's say, 21, and then you're 21 to 35, 35 to 60, 60 and above, because this is absolutely a baby boomer play if you play it right for the next generations. You just got to be smart about it. So the blockchain, the easiest way I can explain it is just think of a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that lives in the cloud. Like blockchain and this technology in Web3 is the next generation of the technology we have today. It just exists in almost like etheric reality, if that makes sense. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but you're just taking everything you have today and putting it into the cloud. And if you can imagine that there's basically code floating in the air, and you're pulling code out of the cloud to settle transactions, do whatever you're doing. That's basically cloud capabilities in layman's terms. And I'm trying to, bring it down because even I have to go through this myself and, kind of process it. But the whole thing is if you can imagine a world where every transaction you have is transparent, it's instantaneous, and it eliminates friction, then you start to understand the blockchain and cryptocurrency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I take a trip overseas. Let's say I go to Italy, and let's say I traditionally, like this happened, you studied abroad in Rome
I
for
did. I
a
loved
quarter.
it.
And okay, so I have to convert a US dollar into a euro, and then some bank wants to process and charge me 2 to 4 to 6%. At the airport, they want to charge like 30, which is absurd. It's like highway robbery, right?
Does anybody even still use those
Yeah,
anymore?
I'm sure people do. Um, but you're like, it's laughable converting money. So if you have cryptocurrency as Bitcoin, because we're going to use Bitcoin because that's the standard, the digital asset standard.
I think there's a book about that.
There might be a book about that.
I think there's also a video about that.
Right. So if you say, okay, I'm going to price everything in Bitcoin, for example, I don't have to convert currency.
Mhm.
So I can buy something in America, I can buy something in South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, etc., using the same, you know, asset. And it just has kind of evolved that Bitcoin is digital gold. And the other thing is, if you live in my world, I can't share how unbelievably archaic our systems are. They're archaic. And it takes way too long for money movement. It takes way too long for transfer and settlement. And on the money management side, if I'm on the blockchain and everything's transparent and I don't need to worry about having a market Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 4 every day, I can be open 24/7. And then instead of waiting 1 to 2 to 3 business days to settle transactions, I can do it instantaneously at the speed of light. So
Is that where the nodes factor in? Where like those are the sort of intermediaries, like that's the connection points?
yeah, yeah, nodes are for sure. So all you're doing is you're taking the technology you have today and you're upgrading it to the technology of tomorrow. And so when people talk of digital assets and protocols and networks and all this stuff, and they say, okay, well, then you have these quote unquote nodes that you hear about. Nodes are no different than your current computer or your router that's sitting in your own home. It just deciphers and has it deciphers information, and then it has use cases on the blockchain because it's a different technology. And don't sleep on this. Amazon, IBM, all sorts of big time companies across the world have been using blockchain for a long time. It's just we're now moving into this world of I don't have this piece of paper to pay for something. And we haven't had paper in a while anyways. Like some people still use it, most don't. Everyone has debit card, credit card, phone, whatever. It's you're moving into the world of money's now digital. And that maps over to the transition from an industrial age of life into the age of information and technology.
Yeah, I mean, for as an example, if you look at the statistics, BitPay reports that Bitcoin has approximately 18,000 public nodes, and then Ethereum, another, I think it's another stable coin, not that far behind, has over
Ethereum's
a.
not a stable coin, but it's a like Ethereum. If you were to say Bitcoin is digital gold, I would call Ethereum digital silver.
Okay, so it's a different mode, but it's the same overarching concept, basically.
Yeah, it's on a blockchain. It has its own network and protocol
Yeah,
for sure.
and it's got about 11,000 nodes. So, I mean, there are already tens of thousands of nodes out there for a number of different cryptocurrencies, and more are growing.
Right. And so nodes, okay, so like when you log onto your computer, right? Your computer does a multitude of jobs at the same time, right? It's processing the information that you input onto the screen. It's taking all the information that you put in there and also gathering the data and collecting the data so you could use across all applications that you're using. And I mean, obviously, you're like Microsoft versus Apple based, but then there's also the security component of it, right? Because you want to protect your information. And honestly, this is all brand new to everybody. It's a new world, right? Like think about it. The computer and internet came out really started to come alive in 2000. I mean, I was in college and I used to hit a button and it would do dial up on a phone.
Okay.
And you would hear these noises and you're like, hey, is my computer okay? But the long and the short of it is, we're still so young in the adaptation of code and technology and computers that we really haven't gotten to the point of recognizing its capabilities. And this is why cryptos and digital assets are so important, is because there is absolutely a better way from what we collectively have learned. And we now have, we're just, all we're doing is we're taking everything that you have today to the next level. So instead of having a computer and router physically sitting in your room, as we do today, you tap into these nodes and systems that help run on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And then from a consumer business owner type perspective, can you imagine what your world would look like if you can amplify your productivity by 1,000 times what you're capable today?
Yeah, that's nuts to me.
But that's what this is.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of business owners are now facing. I mean, just today I saw there are certain banks that are now taking Bitcoin. Like it is spreading very quickly, and that I think is something I also wanted to expound on. Especially we were mentioning Ethereum earlier. The differences in the types of coins, the types of tokens. Um, I think there are some people that may not understand those differences in the sense that I mean everybody's heard of meme coins. I think some people may think it's all meme coins. I know people who think all of them are meme coins, like that's just a new word for cryptocurrency. Um Walk us through, I think, the difference between, altcoins, stable coins, meme coins.
Yeah, I in my perspective of things, and I'm sure that I said on my side of the world, I'm sure the original crypto people of the world will could challenge some of this, but I'm going to give you my translation of it if this makes sense. Bitcoin is digital gold. Like Bitcoin's the standard. And when you see it, you see the potentiality of it and you realize like, hey, I just got orange pilled. Because there's a fundamental human connection to democratization of finance and freedom for everybody. And when that hits your core, it humbles you. It's a humbling experience. So you have Bitcoin is the standard. Altcoins, if I was to compare this with the traditional finance world, altcoins are alternative investments. So, okay, Bitcoin is your equity market, right? Your digital gold, whatever. So let's say that Ethereum and XRP and others are your altcoins. They're not your primary, but they're a plethora of other protocols and networks that serve a purpose. The meme coins tend to be almost like penny stocks, right? If you think of penny stocks in the traditional world, you're like, dude, this thing costs 2 cents.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. But I think the concept is really good, and it might have a chance to hit big. And if it hits big, like if you hit on a penny stock, you can, and not recommending this, right? But if you hit on a penny stock, you can make it big because of different concepts, right? Like, hey, this actually might have legs. So if you were to translate and compare digital assets to traditional finance, like Bitcoin is your S&P 500. It's your NASDAQ. And your altcoins are, well, maybe altcoins are NASDAQ. Your S&P 500 is probably Bitcoin, right? So go with that one. S&P 500, NASDAQ. If we're going to make more money and earn more performance, it's going to be in the altcoin space. But my bread and butter, my core, which I can sleep at night knowing I have it and it will never go away, is my S&P 500 stocks.
Right? Bitcoin.
It's Bitcoin. So I know that I sleep well at night. And after, like in traditional finance, if you have your core stocks that you know are never going anywhere, and performance doesn't even matter because they pay dividends and all that stuff, but you know that based on what you have, there's a piece that comes with that. Your altcoins are the next level, which are going to grow and help you and your family and beneficiaries increase your standard of life. There you go. That's your NASDAQs, your technology stocks.
So you would say then that as it relates to stable coins, you would say Bitcoin is the stable coin. There are no others.
Well, no, they're separate. So stable coins are essentially US dollar coins or currency coins, let's say. It's almost like having a fiat currency. So a stable coin is never meant to fluctuate. Bitcoin fluctuates, right? Your top 500 stocks, Apple, Amazon, Meta, they fluctuate in value based on news, performance, whatever. But the point of it is a stable coin, which is, I think, a really important thing right now. A stable coin is basically your US dollar, and it's backed by US treasuries. And you want to make sure that you're similar to when you go to a bank, that your coin you're buying on your exchange that you're using, Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, whatever, Binance, whatever, that it's backed by a physical dollar, right? So I have a dollar in the bank, it's backed by a dollar and protected there. And there's no real fluctuation in value, hence stablecoins. And the stablecoin market, I think, is extremely important because if we want to continue with the quote-unquote dollar dominance, there's no more utilized coin in the crypto world across the world than USD, the US dollar in the digital world. And so for us at home here domestically, in a system that we're so in debt, we need a bailout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, crypto is a bailout for the United States. We need to issue more treasuries. All the banks can have their own coins. And on top of that, in my world, where I talk with, and I shared earlier about the archaic systems we have to live on, do you know how much money it's going to make us by moving to blockchain? And I mean the collective us.
Like the Swift payment system.
The Swift payment system is archaic. In my world, we have a DST system, which is a mutual fund, and it's almost like the shell of a mutual fund based system. It's archaic. It's so old and so slow, and it's costly to all of us. So I don't understand why people can't open up to the concept that, hey, there's a way better way. And as has been demonstrated this week by, the news of Trump and, Saudi Arabia and over in the Middle East and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
At the time of recording, yeah.
yeah, at the time of recording, like when you travel the world, you start to understand how far behind we are from a technology perspective.
Mm-hmm. But also, like I mentioned an episode or two ago, how quickly we're catching up as well. I mean, we've seen that, with what Boston Dynamics is doing, what the companies in Silicon Valley are doing. It seems like, and I almost want to correlate it with the rise of crypto on a mass level in the US. I've just noticed as crypto's been getting bigger, technological improvement in the US at least has been getting faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there's a correlation there, but it seems like there's a correlation there.
Oh, absolutely. There is. Probably there is.
So that leads me to my next question because, obviously with all these different types of coins and different ways to get into it and how they interact on the blockchain, that's one element of it. There's also the matter of generation, how these come to exist in the first place. I'm wondering if you can explain sort of how mining crypto works, and more importantly, because we talk a lot about real assets here at 107, how it contrasts and compares to, say, mining gold or silver, or in the modern day, generating paper currency.
Yeah. So I don't know that you could. You have to get into the mining of it because that's. You don't have to get in the mining of it if you don't want to. I don't think it makes sense to mine Bitcoin. And mining basically means is what you're doing is you're doing work on a blockchain. There's proof of work, or what's the other one? Proof of stake, I think. Whatever. So the point is, you don't necessarily have to mine on the blockchain, but the blockchain survives and gets stronger with the more work that's done on it.
It is proof of stake, I just checked.
Proof of stake, yeah. I don't think the mining matters. Some people will do it, some people won't. You could literally do it out of your own house where you can buy a box, have a whole setup, and you can mine Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which means you're just doing work on the blockchain. You're verifying information, making it more secure, making it stronger.
So you access the Bitcoin code, the Bitcoin protocol that's out there in the blockchain, and creating more of that code for yourself, and that's mining basically.
It's like a reward system, right?
Okay.
So if I go to Starbucks every day, they're happy with me because I go to Starbucks, so then they give me points. And by the way, Starbucks, you should probably increase your rewards a little bit.
My local Starbucks, I'm basically a regular.
Right. So it's a reward system. Most people are not going to get into the mining of it. But there is an absolute generational play that's available, and it's something that everybody needs to address, right? So if you're young and building, you're starting off from the beginning, digital assets offer an opportunity for an investment to appreciate in price as compared to whatever fiat you live in at probably a faster rate than we've ever seen in humanity before.
So basically, the best way to really get into digital assets is not so much mining because it's very slow and very costly and requires a lot of equipment, but more so getting into it from an investment perspective.
I think so. It's the easiest and path of the least resistance. Remember, not financial advice, consult a professional.
Obviously.
Right. But when think about it. You're young, you're going to college, you're going through high school, going to college, you're getting in your 20s, trying to find your way. The last thing you want to have on your head is, I got to make money to survive. Right? And the thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to build a foundation in my world at my age, when I was that age, you would be buying stocks. Not today. You're going to be buying digital assets. That's the replacement. And all stocks are going digital anyways. They're going to be called, coins, and you'll have an Apple coin and all that jazz, Tesla coin, whatever.
You know Apple's going to make a coin because they love their in-house payment systems and their
And
in-house
and there's a
technologies.
whole other play for those companies that there's a playbook there which is really interesting that we might talk about later. Um, but the point is, you're going to be in a world where everything is tokenized. You're not going to be buying Apple stock. You're going to be buying Apple coin. So, if I'm young and I'm building, I'm looking at, okay, what's the foundation for my future? It's Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, it's XRP, and maybe a handful of others that you want to take a shot on. That's the building block. And then you get to the middle point of the traditional phase of life where, you're growing your family, building businesses, and all that jazz. It is in your best interest to have digital assets. I'm an entrepreneur. I own companies. My balance sheet is not in dollars. It's in crypto. Because I know I'm losing 10 to 12% year over year on my dollar. Sorry, the reality of it, cash is never king. It never was. We were all brainwashed on something. And if you watch Ray Dalio, who started one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, he's been saying for years, cash is trash. And it made sense for when, like, my parents went through their cycle and they could buy a house at $60,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would turn into $500,000. Buy a house, it appreciates, and then you save your cash. Made sense for that generation. But guess what? It didn't trickle down. If you buy a house now, you're getting murdered.
Who's buying houses anymore? I mean, we're putting out at the time of recording, it should be going out today, our client newsletter that, our first inaugural issue mentions this exactly, that more and more people are buying, instead of houses or renting apartments, they're buying modular housing, or they're getting RVs,
Totally
especially RVs.
Right.
I mean, RV parks are going up across the country. I know several people my age who have declined to get apartments because they're just going and either getting RVs and then tricking them out, or they're getting new RVs and putting furniture in them.
Right. And the other thing, too, is, like, think about this. When you look at, okay, so we're in Portland, Maine right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, okay, $1 million used to get you the Kevin McAllister house in Home Alone. Go look at what $1 million gets you now. A absolute crap box.
It gets you that cabinet over there.
Right. So that the lifestyle that was being lived for a long time is over. So then you say, okay, you have people that are 35 to 60. We're the transitionary generation in this. Fine, great, whatever. We'll figure it out. Trust me. Our parents threw us out in the streets and said, come home when the lights come on. They didn't really give a shit about us. Well, we'd probably delete that, but I'm just saying.
No, we keep that in.
It's not.
That's the magic.
I know. It's not that they didn't care about us, but at the same time, they needed advertisements at 10 o'clock every night like, hey, dude, do you know where your children are? Right? That was kind of the...
I remember those. I remember those. They were still playing when I was very little. I remember those.
But great. Fantastic. Wonderful. We're transition. Younger generations are all digital. They already know it anyways. It's second nature to them. But here's the kicker. It's the older generations. Oh, this is nonsense, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, but there are some massive, massive opportunities for the baby boomers and the older generations to leverage crypto from a legacy and tax planning perspective.
And it's really being seen by all ages. It's being taken advantage of by all ages.
Right. And so, okay, let's say hypothetically, I'm going to be somebody who in the late 80s bought a house in whatever, Boston, for example.
Let's say hypothetically, whatever. What are you saying, Mr. Shapiro?
No, it's hypothetical. So let's say I bought a house in '87 and I paid $100,000 for it, and all of a sudden it's worth $3.5 million. But I'm old now. I gotta sell it. I have a massive capital gains bill. And you know what else I have at the same time?
What?
I have massive medical bills. Because my health is deteriorating, right? And at the same time, I have to figure out the fact that, hey, that 401k and 403b that was sold to me was a load of crap. So now I have to think, okay, how can I send my money to the next generations and pass it down to my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren? I have to offset downsizing from a huge freaking house into something I can manage and pay a massive tax bill, which you shouldn't have to pay. And if you're paying that, you should consult with someone that knows what they're doing. I'm sorry. Most advisors don't know this stuff. You should never have huge capital gains bills. They should always be offset. And I'm not talking about, oh, we lost some over here, blah, 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 whatever. Like, call someone that knows, right? Like, that's the tax efficiency of it. And then you have to think of the legacy of it. Okay, so how can I pass my assets most efficiently to my next generations? And digital assets, Bitcoin, and the rest of it opens so many new doors at so many possibilities that most people can't comprehend.
I see where you're getting at there. We'll definitely come back to that. I see where you're getting at there, which I think is of significant interest.
Right. And the other thing too is when you're at, I hate to use this, but I got Kermit the Frog coming to my mind right now. When you're at the end of the rainbow, my thought process is, how can I extend what I have to the greatest maximum opportunity or the greatest maximum possibility? How can I extend this to make sure that it never goes down to my kids and my grandkids? And this is where digital assets and crypto and money, because this is now money, this is our world now, offers one of the greatest opportunities for estate planning than I think humanity has seen for 100 years.
So this is I kind of want to there's a part of it I want to come back to in a bit. I did want to ask though, one of the veins. I mean, you mentioned taxes. You've now mentioned estate planning. Um, Obviously, with this, as crypto has really emerged onto the scene as this prominent technology, so too has regulation. I mean, there are tons of news clippings out there about the Senate doing, so and so with this type of coin or this type of regulation. The SEC is on it. Those types of things. I'm wondering, since it first broke into the scene, how has regulation of crypto evolved? What have you seen, especially in your world? What is the evolution that you've seen, and where do you think it's going?
Um, well, we're going in the right direction now. If you want to experience the last 4 years from, I would say, an advisor perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the government was weaponized against you, and so I thought I lived in a free country democracy, and you realize you really don't. But I don't want to get controversial. But that's the truth.
Yeah, we'll save those
Save
for
that
later.
for later. But the long and short of it is, the technology here will benefit everybody, and when it's done properly, right? And we're at the point in time in human development where this will get done right. I don't have any doubt about that. It doesn't. I don't have like, oh, Terminator and AI is going to destroy. No, it's not going to happen. Like, we're at a different point in time of humanity. But the point is, for everybody, if your life's a little bit easier, if your finances are a little bit easier, if you have the opportunity to pursue and give your children the opportunity to pursue their hopes and dreams, we're finally at a point where technology is there and we're getting there collectively as people because we're all coming to agreement on it. And that's all there is. And like,
I mean, is that where, obviously that's where it's going? Is that kind of where it's been going for a while? I think because part of it, I think people want to know, and also I'm curious as well, is how it's evolved thus far in the sense of regulation and
all right,
the approach to it that's been taken, and how that differs or compares to the approach that is currently evolving.
it's okay. So in my world, from my perspective, I want regulation, as we talked about in episode one, I think. Um, and it's not even regulation. I just want to know that should some bad actor show up, I have recourse and protection, and we all should have that, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And it, it's one of those things that seems fundamental, but doesn't exist all the time. So regulation, especially stablecoin, I think is a really, really big deal. I don't know anybody in the digital asset space that I've talked to and talk with that's really, we're not, this isn't a get rich quick scheme, right? Like this
Sure.
is, we're investing in the future here. It's, yeah, you could have returns you're never going to see before, but it happened in the internet. It happened with gold in the 30s, 1930s, whatever. But the point of it is, everybody, I think for the most part, unless you're a bad actor, as they say today, is in agreement like, hey man, give me some rules and rules of the road and give me some protection,
Some guidance.
guidance. I just want to know that if I want to go innovate into this world, that should something happen, I have protections.
So that's kind of how it started coming about, was I guess in the spirit of decentralization, just a natural desire amongst people who participate in the blockchain and participate in decentralized assets and participate in cryptocurrency, just for those guidelines. Because I mean, obviously, when it first debuted, when it first broke onto the scene, I imagine it was like the Wild West.
It was, still is sometimes.
A little so. I mean, there's never going to be that. It's never going to totally not be the Wild West just by the nature of it. But it's the Wild West in which the saloon has been given modern facilities, and they've built a road through the town
Right.
center.
Yeah,
and
toilets now, it's great.
and the sheriff now has a whole police department. It's not just one guy with a badge. You know,
Yeah, and I mean, I think you have to strike the balance between,
Clint Eastwood has a Glock instead of a revolver.
right. You have to strike the balance between like regulation and oversight. Um, Everything I think tends to self-regulate. You can't control everything because if you try to if you try to control everything, you stop innovation. And the point is, this technology is innovative. It's really no different than what you already have. It's just done much cleaner. And when it and you're going to have the support, and this is why I said before, banks are not going away, and I don't think they should. I just said everybody will have the support they need to move to this new system. It's cleaner, it's more transparent, and yes, it is for people that are investing in it early. It's the opportunity to generate potentially generational wealth. And if you're not studying this and looking at it or talking with someone who has a clue about it. And trust me, in my world, I was at a big conference in November, and the person they had talking about this didn't have a freaking clue what he was saying. It was terrible. His presentation on crypto was terrible. And even in our world, because your financial professional may not take the time to really look at new opportunities as they should. They kind of go with the pack.
Okay.
There are opportunities that can be missed. And I've experienced it. For 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, I heard how much blah 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 whatever blah 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 whatever. I don't have a clue whatever. But now everyone's called me and said, "Hey, you guys hit it. You were right." And everybody knows it now, including your United States government and the dollar that you buy every day. They're telling you to buy Bitcoin. Not saying it's a recommendation, but if you don't own it, it's your fault now.
It's something to consider.
No, you can't consider it. It has to be a part of your portfolio. It's not optional. It's a 5 to 10% allocation at the very least.
That's pretty impressive.
So that's just what I'm saying. And if this is not an option for anybody out there anymore. And the news is telling you, buy Bitcoin, buy crypto. It's coming.
Even legacy media are saying it now.
Right. But the reality is, if they're saying it in legacy media, it's already here. Go buy crypto and work with people who know what they're doing. And the other thing, too, is I tell people is, oh, you're going to get your person who will buy you an ETF. You don't own it. You need ownership. Right? It's like stocks.
Mm-hmm.
I used to buy stock in the 80s and 90s. I'd pay $100,000, whatever, and I get a stock certificate, and I keep it in my safe. This is that same play. ETFs aren't going to get you there. You need to buy it directly, and then you need to hold it. And if you don't work with someone that can help you with that, really, what do you have?
So I think that in turn leads me to the final component of this sort of deep dive that we've done today into the nature of crypto and how it works. Because obviously this all has to round back. I think most important thing to end on is, where do we fit into this big web? What does 10-7 do as it relates to crypto? What is our model? What do we think about it? What do we try to impress upon our clients? Where do we fit into the blockchain, so to speak?
Right. I think we fit in because we were one of the first out there in the advisory community to say, "Hey, we need to do this.
We have to get on top of this."
Yeah, it didn't matter, and there's a price to pay when you're early, right? Like if you look at Apple, Amazon stock in the beginning, very volatile, like $20, a dollar, whatever.
I mean, if you like
But
one
the
of our
point is-
favorite movies, The Big Short.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
that part where Michael Burry, he buys all these stocks, and then his investors at his firm are complaining because he's having to pay these ridiculous premiums, and he keeps saying to them, "Just wait, just wait, just wait. It'll happen." And eventually it does happen, and then there's that brilliant scene at the end where the building is entirely empty and he puts on his profit like over 400%.
Right, and I think this trade potentially is higher. And at the same time, it's the problem with doing something like this is most people don't understand it because everybody's been so ingrained and taught to look at performance on a statement, right?
Hmm.
That's a mythical number. It doesn't even exist. Like, all you do, if you're a true investor, if you really want to generate wealth, you buy things you have conviction in and you go full cycle. And it could take 3 years to pay off. It could take 5 years to pay off. It could take 7 to 10. Doesn't matter. It eventually pays off. And as it relates to crypto, everyone's too focused on trying to fit it inside this box where you're missing the whole point. If you were to price the world and all the assets around the world in digital terms, which you're in the world now, it's here. So you're pricing things according to the price according to Bitcoin. Everything that everybody is doing today is losing 45 to 60% of value, 65% of value in accordance to its price of Bitcoin. And that's the Bitcoin standard. If you want to levelize the field and democratize the field across the world and price every asset and levelize how you can see things, you price it according to Bitcoin. Cars, houses, boats, all of it.
So you would say our approach then is primarily focused on Bitcoin?
Mm. No, I would say that, but BTC is definitely the standard
It's definitely
until proven otherwise.
it's the core of it, basically.
Yeah, it's digital gold, and I mean, we talked about it before. Like, if I have Bitcoin in my cold storage on my wallet in my front pocket, I can go anywhere with it. It doesn't can't really do that with $1 million worth of gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't worry, TSA. This is just metal I'm dragging in a backpack, right?
Yeah, here's this giant bag full of heavy something. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it's fine. And then every TSA agent is going to be like, "Yeah, okay, go along, kind sir."
And I don't know what the future is. All I can say is across all my time and all my studies, this is one of the cleanest plays I've ever seen. It's one of the purest things I think we've ever been in that's ever been invented. And I think and I feel like the implications of the technology are beyond what any of us imagine. Like, okay, so let's say you buy a house, right? Very simple. I want to buy a house. I pay US dollars. I need a bank to do it. I need a bank to get the mortgage. I need a real estate agent. I need a real estate attorney. I need tax title, blah, 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 whatever. All that bullshit is eliminated. It's all gone now. Real estate agents are going to get smoked. Real estate attorneys are going to get smoked in all this. You're all out of a job in 5 years. And
That's a bold statement.
but I don't need those people anymore. Blockchain and crypto allows for the elimination of the middleman across most mediums.
So I think what you would probably say then is, as it relates to where we fit into this big web, is we started ahead of the curve and we're remaining ahead of the curve. And so I think what we're doing for our clients then, you could say, is making sure they're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. Um, One, it's not just our clients; it's people in general, and we're saying, hey, this is a big, big, big deal. You have to at least figure out how to invest in it and do it properly, right?
That's why we always say talk to a
This,
professional.
this, well, the second part of it is the professionals are calling the professional. And we're consulting with other financial professionals and teaching them how to get into this properly.
So the professionals are calling us.
Yes. It's both. And at the end of the day, it's like I said before, The world I want to live in is coming and it's here. I don't want to have to do Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 4. Like, I want to trade 24/7. Like, if I'm on DraftKings and I'm looking at the PGA Championship and I want to throw some money on it, let's go. Stocks aren't different. It's a casino. Investments are not much different. We're getting out of this old archaic world and going to a new world where it's 24/7. And a lot of people are having trouble with the mindset shift that comes out of this because you have to open your mind to the possibilities. And you get caught with, oh my God, I'm going to lose this. No. Have you ever considered, oh my God, it's going to enhance this?
That's something good to
Go in
consider.
the other direction, because the technology of today and tomorrow is going to enhance everything we are and have, including your freaking health. You don't have a doctor anymore. You won't need one. Your doctor is now AI, and it will do a full body scan and tell you everything you need to know and fix it on the spot. So you need to imagine a world where it's fast, it's transparent, and you have no health issues. You might live to 150. Novel concept.
Who knows? We will see. There's definitely more to be seen, not just in there in general, but especially, if we're going to mention how ahead of the curve we have been on this podcast. So I think, unless you have anything else to say, it's a good place to leave off. Obviously, be sure to like, subscribe, stay tuned for all our future episodes of Crypto and Cocktails. This was a banger today, this Tito's and Blueberry. I keep going back to this. I haven't taken many sips, but
Decent bow shop, 32 in the front.
You had to mention the PGA again. You had to mention it.
I did.
But we will definitely talk more about the PGA and other sports. I mean, I was watching SmackDown last night. That thing was great. We're definitely going to mention some sports down the line, talk about some stuff that we do in our spare time, because obviously going back to what you said, with the way that this industry is going, less and less people need to do 9 to 5s or 9 to 4:30s. So
we talk with people about live the life you want to live. So what we find when we really go down the rabbit hole with everybody is fundamentally no one wants to work. And that's perfectly fine. So if you can get the life you want, you don't have to work, and money makes money for you, greater opportunities are available.
Exactly. So obviously, like I said, be sure to like, subscribe, share around, and we will see you on the next episode of Crypto and Cocktails. See you down the line.